first thing you need to know is I've always been a responsible person, someone to be counted and relied upon. My name, Gus, does mean steadfast, after all. I never wanted to be a burden to anyone. I made sure that even the smallest detail wasn't overlooked. I wrote a note and attached it to the wrench that I had borrowed from Mr. Garner, so that I would be sure to return it to him afterwards. Since he fixes refrigerators, I know he'll need it. I would hate it for him to think poorly of me or my countrymen. I got plenty of dirty looks and heard more than my share of whispered insults, and that was before I jumped ship. It was a risk doing that, but one worth taking. Since I came from practically nothing, I spent a lot of time fantasizing about a better life. When I left home, I seized every chance and opportunity I could that came my way and didn't take anything for granted. I'd worry about the consequences later. I couldn't let fear snuff out the fire in my heart. There weren't many jobs that weren't manual labor. We Greeks weren't allowed to do just any kind of work, although a bunch of us did manage to join the army. At least I never got involved with a padrone. That's a labor agent. These padrones would hire folks, or sometimes entire families, and bring them over to this country to use their skills. They would just pay us pennies while lining their own pockets. You could wind up in debt for years, but if you're desperate enough, you'll do just about anything to get what you want, even if it's against the law, even in the face of shame. I was lucky to get to this country when I did, before laws were passed that made it harder for people from Southeast Europe to come here. That was made even more difficult starting in 1924 when passports were introduced. At the end of the day, it was all about keeping things nice and simple and the same. Or, in other words, preventing anyone who wasn't white enough from becoming an American. So much for that so-called melting pot. Yet, we still came, and we kept fighting for fair treatment. I guess we still believed in the American dream, despite the nightmares we faced. When I got to Raleigh, I soon found a collection of ambitious Greeks who had started businesses down on the bustling 200 block of Wilmington Street. Like Pete Locklavos and his Raleigh fruit store down at number 215. All thanks to that post-Great War money boom. Unfortunately, these spots were only available because the black businesses had been forced out. Thankfully, they relocated over on Black Main Street on East Hargett. I started my shop, the Central Meat Market, at number 205, mostly because there was an apartment over the shop for me to live in. Talk about killing two birds with one stone. Because I didn't have to pay rent on both a house and the shop, and business was good, I was able to help out other immigrants who were new to the city and a little light on funds. Perhaps I was a bit too generous and naive. I signed several personal notes for people who promised to pay me back as soon as they settled in. They never did. But I still continued to try to help anybody who asked. The crazy thing is that after helping so many people and making some good friends myself, I didn't feel like anyone was looking after me. It was hard to find people I could trust, and some of those I did trust turned their backs on me. Like my landlord. He swindled me, and after almost 5 years, I had to close up my market and find a new place to live. I found a spot on East Davie Street that had a back room I could throw a cot in. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. It wasn't like I was going to find sympathy or a soft place to rest peacefully somewhere else. Still, all hope wasn't lost yet. My friend Nick Miras was there to help keep things light and easy for me. He helped me set up my next business, a cafe this time. I thought it would be nice to offer the people in the neighborhood a taste of home. Plus, I was quite homesick myself. When I came to this country, I came alone. My sister wrote to me, and every letter was a gift. I carried them with me everywhere. Knowing that at least one member of my family was rooting for me helped me to keep going. Well, it had to be enough. It wasn't like there was a woman in my life, which probably was for the best considering money was so tight. I can't imagine having a family to take care of. Yes, it was for the best that it was just me. Well, me and my assistant, Willie Norman. He's a good kid. Shoot, I call him a kid. He's a grown man of 30 with a wife. He's a hard worker, so naturally I was going to make sure I took care of him. He's the one who sounded the alarm. When he got to the cafe at 7 a.m., he noticed that the lights were on, but the door was locked. He knew something was wrong, so he broke in and notified the police. Yes, he's a good kid. It's crazy that I call him a kid. I'm old enough to be his father, almost. I hope that he's able to make more of this life than I was able to. At the very least, the steamer and grill that I gave him, along with his $10.50 in salary, ought to come in handy. I had so many great and grand plans in my head when I left home. The new world beckoned like a shining beacon, and I couldn't wait to get here. I was going to work hard. I was going to build a great life. But it just didn't work out. It's been a long road, and even with something like a happy ending just within reach, I couldn't grasp it. The cafe had only been opened a couple of days. Maybe I could have waited a little longer. No, I don't think so. After all the worries about being kicked out of this country and sent back to nothing, the struggles, the hope that was sparked and dashed again, the betrayal, the loneliness, everything that I thought I believed in just slipped away. The life that I had so dreamed of turned out just to be a pipe dream. But I never thought it would end up in this dingy back room with a Luger pistol. It's odd, but a little ounce of lead can bring you crashing back down to earth when your head is in the clouds. I know that life and death lies in the hands of God, but I've just felt so powerless for so long lately that I just couldn't find any way out. And this way, at least I could get back a little bit of power. I know that I'm going to be punished for this, but I don't care anymore. Except for the faint hum of the icebox, it's quiet. The silence is comforting because it's familiar, and if it's quiet, that means there's no one around to disturb. Like I said, I never wanted to be a burden. I'm 50 years old. If I haven't made it any further than this dank, sunless little room by now, I never will. I guess mine were some of the dreams that just weren't meant to come true. I hope they bury me someplace nice, amongst the great and the good. I'd like to think that in my own small and humble way, I was one of them. Thank you.